Started. Welcome everybody. I love seeing some new names in the group. Very excited. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll jump in because I know it is 4:30, so I want to honor your time. So for anyone who has not participated in the past or is just kind of a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A or chat box and I'll make sure to answer them at the end. And if you have anything that you want to talk to me about, you get a free 30-minute phone call or consultation session with me just for attending, and you can schedule that through a link that'll go out in the follow-up email. And if you just have questions in general, feel free to reach out after this webinar, and I would love to chat. Okay, so let's dive in. So today we're going to talk about what questions you should be asking before hiring a web designer. So I've been talking a lot this month about web development in general, and I have excitedly been getting a lot of interest in my free website audits. And so I thought, well, this is a perfect time to talk about what it really looks like to hire somebody and what kind of things you need ahead of time. And I've been designing websites for a few years now, and so I've learned a lot over even just the last year. I feel like has been just a fire hose of information. And so I'm even learning, kind of some of the better questions to be asking. And so I wanted to share those with you and really just open up the opportunity for you to ask questions now and to see, from a web developer and marketer, what kind of things you need to be looking for. So that's what we're going to touch on today. All right, so first we're going to go through why you need a proper website and what that really looks like. And a lot of times, especially, well, we'll get to that. So why do you need a proper website? What you need to ask yourself before hiring a designer, and then what you need to be asking your potential designers. Because there's a lot of different ways that people can approach web design. There's a lot of, do-it-yourself platforms out there, but is that really the best case? And are those really the right people? So we'll touch on all of that. All right, so first up, why have a website? So the first thing is that customers expect it, especially in today's day and age where everything is online, everything is digital. If you have a business and you don't have a website of some kind, it just automatically tanks your credibility. But the tough point is that you have to have a good website, right? So just as much as not having a website can be detrimental, having a poorly built, poorly functioning, or just unsatisfying website can be really difficult to grow your brand and your business as well. So 6 out of 10 customers expect businesses to have a website because they want to know more about the business before they make a decision. They want to be able to browse your products and your services and even look at some pricing options. So, people don't really want to be sold to, and they know that when they get on that call or when they have to actually talk to someone, it's much more likely that they might be convinced to purchase something that they don't want, or that they don't need, or they can't afford. And so being able to kind of safely review all of that content and really just kind of get to know somebody before having that initial conversation just helps to kind of ease some of that anxiety. I know I do that all the time. Even for me, and I mean, some of this is just good prep work, but whenever someone reaches out to me, whether it's for a consultation call or even for the website audits that I do, before I actually present and kind of get things together and connect with someone, I actually go look at their website. I get to know a little bit about them. I get to check out what they do. And especially with a website audit, it gives me a good understanding of okay, what do I want to focus on? What points on their website do I want to make sure that people are taking care of? And so that's a big piece about websites as well. The second thing is you can control the narrative and offer social proof to your customers. So 90% of customers are influenced by the reviews they find online, whether that's Yelp or on a website or on Google. And so you want to make it easy for them to find the people who are giving you high praise, right? And so you get to control that. You get to control whether or not there's positive testimonials on your site. You get to control how you portray yourself and your business as a whole. And so all of those pieces are really important, and having them all in one place on your website just gives you that control and ability to really define what it is you want to communicate to others. And then thirdly, it helps to be found on Google search results, right? So you can definitely have a Facebook or an Instagram profile, and those will be found on Google. And sometimes they're found before your actual business website, which is, a whole different issue. But 81% of customers do online research, like we talked about, before making a purchase or contacting a business. So if they go to Google and they search, how to market my business online or how to hire a web designer, I want my content to be up there first. And so having a website allows me to have more and more touch points for people to ask those questions and find my content. So those are just 3 reasons why to have a website. There are plenty more, but those are the 3 really big ones. All right, so next let's talk about questions to ask yourself. So these are questions that I find are really helpful, and I kind of end up asking my clients or potential clients as we kind of have those preliminary calls. And so if you're thinking about reaching out to a developer, or maybe you're talking to someone right now, these are really good questions to be asking yourself ahead of time. All right, so 3 things. First, do I have a brand for my business? So branding is more than your logo and your color scheme and your typography, and we'll touch on that in a minute, but definitely asking yourself, okay, do I know the brand of my business? Can I communicate it well? Or maybe I need to do that piece first. The second question to ask is, do I know what content I want to include on my website? And so that's different than your brand. It's looking at, do I want to have pictures? Do I want video? Do I want to have a blog on my site? How many web pages do I want to have? All of those different pieces. And you don't have to have all of those answers right away, but having some general idea about what you want to include will help you to understand exactly how long this project will take and how much money it'll cost you. And then the third and most important question is, am I willing to invest in my business? So I really believe a website is not an expense, but an investment in your business, but only when it's done properly. So it can get very, very expensive to have a poor website and just to not really be able to convert those clients. But if you have a really, really great website and it's designed really well and it's intentional, it'll pay for itself very quickly. And so that's something to just think through, even thinking through, okay, how many clients do I need to book to pay for this site? And that can even be a big factor in, that conversation of, okay, how is this person going to develop my site to help me reach my business goals, to help me gain back, get a return on my investment here. So just some thoughts there, and let's break it down a little bit more. So why do you need a brand? And why you need it first. So the first thing is that it really helps to identify and develop your ideal customer. I'm actually currently in the process of rebranding my business, and it's been so incredibly helpful because what I've been going through is I've been looking at, okay, who do I really want to connect with? Because that's going to influence the way that I develop all of my content. That's going to influence the voice that I use, the tone that I create content with. So for example, like a baby boomer and a Gen Zer are going to approach websites very differently because growing up, baby boomers didn't have that technology, but Gen Z has, basically had an iPhone since the day they were born, it feels like. And so the kind of expectations these different generations and different people have, and people of different backgrounds and cultures even, all of that will play into what they think of your website and how they might respond. Now, you can't know everything, right? So you might have a baby boomer who is super into tech and knows everything, and a Gen Z person who just is so analog, you don't even know if they were born in the right generation. That's very possible, but understanding who you're looking to connect with will influence all of the other pieces of your website. So being able to really define that in your brand is super important as well. The second thing is defining your aesthetic. So your brand, identifies your customer and your voice and all those different pieces, but it also defines your aesthetic. So everything from your logo to the colors you use, the typography, the, just videos, the photos, all of that is really, really important. You know, is your business going to be bright and bubbly? Is that the kind of aesthetic that you're looking for? Or is it kind of dark and moody, or modern or traditional, or abstract, or really, you know, geometrical, or whatever? You know, all of these different pieces are really important to think through and to have in place before someone starts building out your site. You know, especially things like your logo, and like all of this takes time, right? So if you are trying to do a brand, like brand identity development and a website at the same time, it's just going to be, you're just going to be doing a lot of extra work. And so having a brand from the beginning, something strong that you can really invest in and know is right, just helps make the rest of the process easier. And it helps all of your marketing materials. And then thirdly, I kind of touched on this, is building out your logo. And so this is a really key component, not just of your marketing, but of your story in general, right? So your logo is how people are going to identify your brand outside of, you know, any other content that you create. So if people are, you know, scrolling through Facebook and all of a sudden they see your logo, they should know exactly who you are. But a lot of times, if we don't take the time to kind of develop those things ahead of time and we try to go back later, it can actually confuse your customers. So like right now, I'm working with my branding person to develop a new logo for me, but I don't want it to be anything totally different from what I currently have. I mean, right now my logo is very simple. I literally made it in Canva, but it doesn't actually tell anyone anything about my business. And so my branding person and I are working together to really allow my logo to really share a story, to talk about, okay, who are we? What does WDS do? How do we, you know, influence the world around us? All these different pieces. And so being able to work that out ahead of time for your own business as well is really important. So that's, you know, kind of my little spiel on branding. Definitely super helpful. And as a developer, if you have your brand ahead of time, oh my gosh, it goes so much faster because we already know the colors and the fonts and the logos and everything ahead of time. And so there's not as much back and forth. And so it makes the whole process a lot smoother. All right. So I really like this quote from Paul Rand, who's just a, you know, super well-known designer from the 1900s. And he says, design is the silent ambassador for your brand. So just like everything else, when we're designing your website, there's always something that you're communicating in the way that we've designed it. So if there's something about your site that you want to portray in the way that you create and write your copy, whether it's in the images that you use or even in the structure that you create, all of those things tell the viewer something about your business and about your brand. All right. Next, what content do you want? So this is another piece, and that I've learned is super helpful to know ahead of time. And I've actually put it into my process for web development, is that I don't touch any of the platforms until we have all the content in place, because then it just becomes a super big hassle and really stressful for everybody. So things like asking yourself, you know, do I want videos, photo, copy, creating all of that, that takes a lot of time. And so if you can kind of work through that process and think ahead, that's a really important thing to know is, okay, do I want video? What kind of photography do I want? You know, do I want to be on my website? Like when I was building my website, I had my friend Georgie take some photos of me, and they need to be updated because they're like over a year old now. But I was planning that way ahead of time, way before I even started to create my website, because I knew I wanted those photos and I knew what kind of photos I wanted. When I was writing out the copy on my website, I knew what I wanted and I thought through it intentionally. I had it edited by Carter, my incredible editor, all of these different pieces before I even started to build. So knowing that kind of stuff as well can help you to figure out even who you want to work with. Is someone going to help you write your copy? Do you need to get a photographer? Do you want to work with one person who maybe has, you know, touch points and resources, or a team of people who give all of those services and provide all of those services at once? The second thing to ask is, how many web pages do you need? So not only does this impact how your site is structured and all of those little things, but it'll also impact how much your website costs, right? So at Westfall Digital Strategies, our sites start at a specific price point, and they're for a basic 5-page website, right? And sometimes if there's sub pages, we just kind of add them in. But when you're looking at like 10, 15, 20-page websites, I mean, that's so many extra hours and pieces and things to add on that it can really kind of cost you a lot, right? So being able to plan those things ahead of time, especially if you're looking to work on a budget, is really important. And oftentimes having that structure in place just helps you to know, okay, what's most effective? How can I create a really good system here? And then thirdly, what's your sales funnel? So this is something that I've really been working with my clients on, because a lot of times we'll create their website, but they don't have their sales funnel in place, right? So it's kind of like we create the contact page. Okay, but what happens when someone contacts them? What happens when they take that action, when they actually fulfill that call to action on these web pages that we're building? What is that process from there on? And that's where it's really nice being kind of this holistic marketer, right? Is I know not just how to create the website, but how to create the whole marketing plan. And so I kind of have been sneaking that in to some of my web development pieces because I want them to succeed. I want them to take this beautiful website that we've created and that they've poured hours and a lot of time and energy and money into. And I want them to actually be able to connect with the people who want to work with them. So asking, okay, how am I approaching this? My website is your 24/7 salesperson, right? How are you using that site? And what is the funnel that you're getting people into? So these are just the few questions to ask yourself. I know it probably feels like a lot, but it's definitely worth it. And then this third question is, do you view your website as an investment? So like I mentioned, your website is your 24/7 salesperson. I have gotten so many people who have reached out to me and said, hey, I loved your site so much. Can you make something similar for me? Or, I love the way that you explained this. I want to work with you. Like sometimes there are people that I've never interacted with, or I've had, very little interaction with, or it's been very one-sided. They've been reading my content or attending these webinars, but I haven't really gotten to meet them. And so they just get to reach out, and my website does a good job of helping them to understand what I'm about, what I do, and whether I'm the right fit for them. So that's definitely a big key piece of it. And then, it's sometimes just asking yourself, how many clients do I need to pay for this site? I do that all the time with, developing things. I looked at this rebrand and I thought, okay, how many clients would I need to gain from, being able to say that I got a return on investment in this? And we haven't even produced and done the whole rebrand, but I'm like, oh, I already have had some new clients come in that has been able to help me feel confident that this will be something that I can do and that is wise and smart for my business. So just kind of looking at things in that sense and knowing, okay, this is really an investment in my business. This is investing in myself. And this is a good and helpful thing, but it also needs to be intentional. All right, so now the questions to ask your designer. So the first question is, what platforms do you build on, and will you train me? So this is a really, really important question. And this is often one of the number one questions I ask my clients, because if they can't work on their site and make the edits, it's great because they can come back to me, right? But that's not ultimately what I want to do. I want to help people to meet their needs and their goals. And sometimes they can't afford to have someone who's constantly monitoring and updating their site. They need to be able to do it themselves. So having someone who will help you to understand your platform, knowing the platform that you want to be on, knowing whether or not you need something super specific is super important. The second question is, can I see examples of your previous work? So this is really important, and often I send them off to prospective clients because it just helps people to see my style, helps them to see what I'm able to do and what I can build out, right? And so you being able to see what a designer has created already will give you maybe even some ideas of what they can do for you. And then the third thing is, what is your design process? So get to know their process. How long does it take to create this? What kind of editing is it going to be? How many times can you say, hey, I want to change this. Hey, I want to change that. All of those pieces can be really, really helpful in choosing the right person. All right, so we're going to break it down a little bit more. So the different web design platforms. So asking about, user friendliness, like how easy is it for someone who's maybe not well versed in technology or specifically web design to comfortably work with this platform, and can they learn it? And then ask yourself, are you willing to learn it? Customizable platforms, so thinking about and asking and sharing how custom you want your website to be. So the more customized you want it, the more complicated and pricier it can get. But if you need something really, really specific, then it's worth investing in. But make sure that your designer can do the things that you need them to do. So like, for example, a couple different options would be having kind of a blog or informational based business or website, which is kind of what my business page or my website is like. So if you're not sure, go check that out. An e-commerce site, or even like a membership site. These are kind of the big three that are very, very different. And so depending upon what you need, you could have different platforms. So like, I love using Squarespace for just regular kind of informational blog heavy businesses, if that's what it was designed for and created for. But I wouldn't necessarily use it for a large e-commerce site. That I would look more at Shopify or WordPress, and then definitely WordPress for membership. There's just so much that needs to be done to build those things out, and you just need different capabilities. So definitely taking the time to look and think about and ask them about the different platforms they work with. So checking out their previous work, like I said, understanding style, assessing their skill set, and then even just getting inspired. I had a recent client say, "Oh, I want a site that looks just like yours." And I was like, "Wow, well, that is a lovely compliment, and definitely something that we can recreate, right? If I did it once, I can do it again." And then I've had other clients say, "Oh, I want this very specific feature from this other site that I created." And they're like, I was able to do it, right? So understanding all those different pieces is really important. And then lastly, the design process. So just a little look into what it could look like. This is what it looks like working with Westfall Digital Strategy. So we have that initial design concept, and this I've really started doing a lot more, is where we actually build everything out in Adobe XD so that it's really easy to move things around and just really see what it looks like before building it. And then we actually build the site. So I work with a couple different developers on this sometimes. A lot of times I'll kind of put my hands in the mix too. But once we've really figured out the right design for you, then we get to work on building it out. And then our last step is to optimize it for search engine and launch it. And so it's really, really fun and exciting. I love it. And then we offer 30 days of free support. So it's just kind of a nice process that I really enjoy walking my clients through, and really being intentional throughout all of it to make sure that we're getting the most out of our time, that we're being intentional with our design, and that we're getting all the details right. Okay, I know that was a lot, but here's the last few things to keep in mind. First, plan ahead. So definitely, whether it's looking at your budget, looking at your brand, your content, all these different pieces, you want to make sure that you know what you need for your site and what kind of support you'll need. Ask lots of questions. I love when people ask me questions, because sometimes they'll ask things that I hadn't thought of, or that are a big concern to them that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And so being able to ask all those questions helps me to even know what they're really looking for. And it's going to cost you money, right? So you should know exactly what you're getting, and getting all the information you need ahead of time. And then be honest. At the end of the day, this is your website. And so if you have something you don't like, or if there's something you want to change, just ask them maybe how they take that feedback. Thankfully, I have been pretty good at not taking things personally, but some designers can get really upset if people critique their work. And so just kind of getting used to and understanding, okay, how does this person work? Can they take some critical feedback? So, all right, now the Q&A. I found this cute GIF, so that would be super fun. But if you guys have any questions, now's the time. You can put them in the chat or in the Q&A box. I'd be happy to answer them and see what we can do. I know that was a lot of information, so we can definitely follow up in the follow-up email that'll go out. See. And if we don't have any questions, that is all right too. Yeah, the puppies are really cute. Awesome. Okay. Well, I hope that means that I did a great job explaining everything. Then I will just do a little bit of wrap up. All right, so thanks again for joining me this week. So next week, we're going to look at how to create an email freebie and set up an automatic workflow to build out your email list. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please come back at 4:30, or you can get the recording as always. And then definitely check your inbox for today's recording. And if you don't get it, or if you have any questions and you want to connect with me, you can email me at hello@westfalldigitalstrategies.com. All of that will be in the email as well. And if you need anything else, please let me know. I'm really thankful you guys joined me this week, and I hope I will see all of you back here next Thursday. Have a great weekend. Bye.